Today is February 4th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we are on page 24 of There's a Solution. We'll be finishing the page of that today. Out of the 12 and 12, we're on step 4. We'll read page 47. And of course, we'll read today's 24 hours a day and daily reflection. So with that, hope y'all are doing well this morning, my friends. I'm recording a little bit later in the morning today, so no coffee this morning, but I do have a glass of water in my Avengers cup. So there you go. We got Incredible Hulk, Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man. So feeling super in sobriety today. Oh, and if I have my kids sneak into the audio, I apologize in advance. But anyway, let's get to the good stuff. All right, my friends. So if you recall from yesterday's reading, powerful couple of paragraphs, but the first paragraph is all in italics, and we've talked about that many times. Usually that's very, very important. And it's kind of rare that you see an entire paragraph in italics in the Big Book. So if you don't mind, I'll read it again. The fact is that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in drink. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. We are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We are without defense against the first drink. Doesn't sound like willpower for a lot of alcoholics is enough. And so let's finish off this page, bottom of page 24. The alcoholic may say to himself in the most casual way, "It won't burn me this time, so here's how." Or perhaps he doesn't think at all. How often have some of us begun to drink in this nonchalant way, and after the third or fourth, pounded on the bar and said to ourselves, "For God's sake, how did I ever get started again?" Only to have that thought supplanted by, "Well, I'll stop with the sixth drink," or "What's the use anyhow?" When this sort of thinking is fully established in an individual with alcoholic tendencies, he's probably placed himself beyond human aid, and unless locked up, may die or go permanently insane. These stark and ugly facts have been confirmed by legions of alcoholics throughout history. But for the grace of God, there would have been thousands more convincing demonstrations. So many want to stop, but cannot. There is a solution. So I read an extra line there, but I wanted to end on a positive note. Free of charge. Out of the 12 and 12, we're on step 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And if you recall from yesterday's reading on page 46, we talked about some of the ideas that the sponsor might have to deal with certain people. People who wrestle with self-loathing, and that was definitely me. And people who think they don't need an inventory at all. And we finally left off with all the reasons for, all the excuses, I should say, for why we might have drunk. We had to drink because at home we were smothered with love or got none at all. We had to drink because we were at work with great success or dismal failures. We had to drink because our nation had won a war or lost a peace. And so it went ad infinitum. So we're on page 47. We thought the conditions drove us to drink. And when we tried to correct these conditions and found that we couldn't to our entire satisfaction, our drinking went out of hand and we became alcoholics. It never occurred to us that we needed to change ourselves to meet conditions, whatever they were. But in AA, we slowly learned that something had to be done about our vengeful resentments, self-pity, and unwarranted pride. We had to see that every time we played the big shot, we turned people against us. We had to see that when we harbored grudges and planned revenge for such defeats, we were really beating ourselves with the club of anger that we intended to use on others. We learned that if we were seriously disturbed, our first need was to quiet that disturbance, regardless of who or what we thought caused it. To see how erratic emotions victimized us often took a long time. We could perceive them quickly in others, but only slowly in ourselves. First of all, we had to admit that we had many of these defects, even though such disclosures were painful and humiliating. Where other people were concerned, we had to drop the word blame from our speech and thought. This required great willingness even to begin. But once over the first 2 or 3 high hurdles, the course ahead began to look easier. For we had started to get perspective on ourselves, which is another way of saying that we were gaining in humility. "24 hours a day, February 4th. AA thought for the day. Treating others to drinks gave us a kind of satisfaction. We'd like to say, "Have a drink on me." But we were not really doing the other people a favor. We were only helping them to get drunk, especially if they happened to be alcoholic. In AA, we really try to help other alcoholics. We build them up instead of tearing them down. Drinking created a sort of fellowship, but it really was a false fellowship because it was based on selfishness. We used our drinking companions for our own pleasure. In AA, we have real fellowship based on unselfishness and a desire to help each other. And we make real friends, not fair weather friends. With sobriety, have I got everything that drinking's got without the headaches? Meditation for the day. I know that God cannot teach anyone who is trusting in a crutch. I will throw away the crutch of alcohol and walk in God's power and spirit. God's power will so invigorate me that I shall indeed walk on to victory. There is never any limit to God's power. I will go step by step, one day at a time. God's will shall be revealed to me as I go forward. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may have more and more dependence on God. I pray that I may throw away my alcoholic crutch and let God's power take its place. Daily Reflection, February 4th. When faith is missing. Sometimes AA comes harder to those who have lost or rejected faith than to those who never had any faith at all. For they think that they have tried faith and found it wanting. They have tried the way of faith and the way of no faith. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 28. I was so sure that God had failed me that I became ultimately defiant, though I knew better, and plunged into a final drinking binge. My faith turned bitter, and that was no coincidence. Those who once had great faith hit the bottom harder. It took time to rekindle my faith, though I came to AA. I was grateful intellectually to have survived such a great fall, but my heart felt callous. Still, I stuck with the AA program. The alternatives were too bleak. I kept coming back, and gradually, my faith was resurrected. Alright, my friends, that concludes today's reading, and some great stuff as always. Man, I could really relate to page 24. How many times had I said, well, I'll just have one. Or, I'm not going to drink today. And then by 10 or 11 in the morning, if that late, I'd be talking myself into the drink. Then I finally had that little sip, and I'm like, okay, I'll just have one. And I couldn't stop at one. So I said, I've already screwed up this sobriety thing, so I'm just going to go ahead and screw it. Honestly, that was my mentality. I already screwed it up. And that's this line right here. Only we have thought supplanted by, well, I'll stop with the 6th drink, or what's the use anyhow? Might as well get good and drunk, right? That makes me think of a lot of the folks that relapse and come back into the rooms. There's a lot of folks that relapse that don't come back. And I just have so much respect and appreciation for the ones who do relapse and have the courage to come back to the fellowships. Because it reminds me that, hey, this disease is very serious and it can get anyone at any time. But it also reminds me that, hey, we're perfectly human. I don't know anybody, obviously myself included, that does these steps perfectly right. These are just perfect ideals that we can kind of strive toward for spiritual growth, you know? But any other factor in my life, not even just the drinking, like if it was lust or if it was gluttony, if there's a slip, okay, what can I learn from this experience? What do I need to change? Use it as feedback and get right back on it. That old adage, do the next right thing. And I've heard many people say, don't let it be an excuse to just keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper. We don't have to beat ourselves up. We get back up, get back on the horse, and keep going. Keep trying. I've heard people say that had maybe 5 or 6 years of sobriety or something like that, or maybe more or less, and then they go back out and they feel like those last 5 or 6 years, like they ruined those. And I humbly disagree. You had 5 or 6 years of sobriety there. Okay, you messed up. But that doesn't take away the fact that you had some sober years. But don't let that relapse be an excuse to give up. Get right back on it. Learn from it. Pray about it. Get the help you need. Get the support you need from trusted friends and get right back on it. We will trudge together in this road of happy destiny. But anyways, guys, that's all the preaching I'm going to do for today. I hope you all have a great one. Thank you so much for listening as always. And please know, Lord know, that I do not speak on behalf of AA, NA, Al-Anon, any other sect. I am just a drunk in this lifeboat of recovery, really honored to be here. And if we are given another set of 24 hours, my friends, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.